Hello and welcome back to Driftwood Hollow and of course to Timberborn. Where we last left off, we set up our observatories, we set up a battery, and we fixed all of our flooding over here. And today, I think the very first thing that I would like to deal with is the fact that this occasionally floods after we have a bad tide or a drought. And in order to fix that, my main goal here is probably just going to be lowering this water level. And to do so, we are going to utilize our 195 explosives and the 304 extract to do that. The plan is to just drop this ditch down a little bit so that it can hold more water and so that we don't have it quite so full all of the time. So we are simply going to go into our landscaping here. I'm going to pause it just for a minute. And I'm wondering whether or not we just make this entire thing like 4 deep so we can hold a whole bunch of water. If we did that, we would have to replace these water pumps with the bigger ones, but I'm okay with that. And I think that's kind of what I want to do. For that, I will unlock both the double dynamite as well as the triple dynamite. And then I guess just start placing this in. I think I'll do this deeper section first, just because I think that's going to be a little bit easier. So this is all going to be double dynamite, just like so. And I'm not going to worry about any of the supports. They can stay a little bit higher. And for right now, I would also like to go ahead and cancel these here, just so that we don't impact our ability to pump water in the short term. The only thing left to do now is make sure there is a path down here, and it looks like there is over here. But they probably won't access all of this without some sort of path. So let's clear a path out so they can at least access most of this, and that should be good to go. I believe we can. Oh, I can draw paths underneath the explosives. I did not realize that, so let's go ahead and throw those explosives back down, get this whole thing laid with explosives, and blow it up from there. Alright, and with all of those explosives in and no beavers currently down here, we can go ahead and press detonate and watch this entire thing blow up. Now that shouldn't affect us too badly if we go ahead and turn on the water. We should still have enough in here to make this work, especially considering these sluices will now open and refill this entire thing. I will, however, say close above like 1.2 instead of 1.5, just to keep the level of this water in here down a little bit more. But that is already a huge amount of storage that we did not have before. Next up is to go ahead and clear out the rest of this, and that is going to be using the 3 wide dynamite, making sure that I don't accidentally place one there, because that would be bad. So let's get all of that in, cover up all of these paths, and I think I'm okay doing it to about there. We should probably do that one as well, and throw in our dynamite. Now, the question is, do we care about these? And the answer is probably yes. I'm going to have to do a little bit of more manual work when it comes to this power wheel and clearing that out. But for now, I think that'll do the trick. I believe they'll be able to get over here. If they can't, I can just go ahead and add a little bit more path in here because I left the side open just in case I did have to come in and do some more work over here. And honestly, it sort of makes sense to connect up those paths anyway. I have a feeling they'll be able to get most of this done, but if they need some more paths, we can, of course, go ahead and add them in as we go. But before we get started with that, I want to take a look at my bakery because it doesn't seem to be working. And it seems to have the same problem I had with my, not my bakery, my grill for the baked grilled potatoes, because I'm not getting any in. The bakery has been working. If it can get logs at some point, I don't understand this problem. I don't know why. Okay, this one is working, assuming someone does stuff soon, but this one is not getting any logs. If I prioritize this, will that fix that problem? I have a feeling it's not going to. and I don't know why. We definitely have a lot of potatoes in stock, so this shouldn't be a problem. We have 1,000 wood. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Also, our drought has ended, so we'll check if whether or not this floods still with that deeper water. I imagine it probably still will, but yeah, this is just not working. So let's, for the meantime, just delete that grill and go ahead and replace it with a new one, because for some reason that was a little bit bugged. We'll go grilled potatoes and that should be okay. All right, let's turn the water view back on and watch as this water flows down. They'll slowly start working on all of this, but I'm very curious to see whether or not this all starts to flood or not. All right, here comes the water. It should start spilling over the spillway very, very soon here. And will we get flooding? Also, apparently these are not in water. That's okay. I'm not concerned about that for the moment. All right, here comes the water. Do we get some flooding? We get some flooding over here. I'm not too concerned about that. The main thing that I don't want to flood is this. And it looks like running at the speed that I'm running it at, which is 3x, not 30x, this seems to be fine. This seems to be holding on just fine. This is flooding a little bit, which I don't love, but again, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I don't know how I would potentially fix that, to be completely honest with you. If you guys have any suggestions on how I can effectively control this water a little bit more, that would be fantastic. I guess just reinstalling these with floodgates and lowering the water level would also fix this problem. So we'll continue on with the demolition for now. And I believe that was the last explosive that went in, so let's go ahead and detonate all of these. Get that nice chain reaction going across our entire riverbank. And this should be the very last one that needs to be done. You need to get out of there, good sir. You need to run. Stop using these ramps. Let's just, for the moment, delete these. They actually need to be dynamited as well. You are now stranded, which is unfortunate, to say the least. I apologize for blowing you up and killing you, Ellie. My bad. My bad. No one else is over here? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to kill you. All right, that is now a ton more water storage. There is a little bit left over here to do as well. And I want to get dynamite on both of these as well. And then we'll start constructing a path across here, as well as a ladder to actually get down. And one right there. Now, they don't have particularly great access across this river anymore. Now, if they want to cross, they have to come all the way out here or all the way out here. We're just going to have to deal with that for a second. It is what it is. They'll figure it out slowly but surely. I just want to get these dynamite in, and then we can reestablish a path across here, as we are getting a little bit of flooding again as this sort of raises back up to this level, which is okay as long as we don't flood our crops. Fingers crossed we don't. Alright, that one is now gone. At the very least, we can start working on our path now. I think just for the sake of symmetry, we'll go with 2 double platforms across here rather than a 3 and a 1. I think that'll look better. They can start working on that section. Over here, they do have technically a way to cross there, but I don't think it's particular. Actually, no, they don't. They don't have a way to cross there at all. I should potentially build them that. So let's go for a ladder there, grab this path and wrap it around, and they should be able to cross there for now. But I think I would also like to connect this path back up as well. So we'll go for something like that, throw our path on top of that so they can cross, and wait for these other 2 dynamites to be placed down. And this one already was, so we'll go ahead and do the exact same thing in that hole, just like so. And with 1 dynamite left to be placed, we can get this done relatively quickly. Right, that path is now built. They'll no longer get the wet fur buff from being in here, but I'm okay with that. The next thing we need to address is our water pumps, and I would like to replace them with the large water pump. That's going to cost us 400 science, and I'm going to temporarily place one down right about here. Never mind, no I am not, because we can't actually get this yet. This requires treated planks, which I do not have, and that is absolutely something that I would like to have, but I do not yet. So that requires, I believe that's pine resin, which we should have a store of. If we check up here, yeah, we have 250. So we need to find a place for this to live. Now, we could continue filling this up, but honestly, that doesn't seem like the best solution to me. We kind of need power somewhere else, if I'm being completely honest. We could expand up here. I actually don't hate that. This could be an expansion to that whole system. We would just need to figure out a way to get power up there, which I think we can do. I don't think it's necessarily going to be pretty, but if we ran power all the way back to here and sort of up and across the side of the dam, maybe that would work. So for now, let's plan on this being there. That will cost us 800 science. Go back to pathing, and we'll make sure that we throw in a ladder so they can get up to it. And then we need to figure out a way to get power over here. So I'm going to sort of work backwards as I do this. We'll go for the normal power shaft, just over by one. We'll grab a vertical power shaft and go up. Can I go sideways with this, or do I need a platform? I would need a platform. So I think I would like this to run somewhere like that. And then probably run down these staircases like so. And then vertical power there, normal one on top of that, vertical power there, vertical power there. And I would actually like another levee here, because this is getting blocked every now and then. Like so, should be okay. And then we can have... How do we get power from back here? That is the question. I guess we just use platforms, right? So we'll go for a double platform there and sort of run it around this way. Singular platform there. And then back to the power tab, we can simply grab a normal power shaft going there. That's going to have to be a vertical one. Can we run just a normal one off the top of that? Yes. Yes, we can. I believe that works. That connects, that connects, that connects. And then we just need to get this across here with another platform. So 3 high, I believe. Yes. Power. That. And then a vertical power shaft there and that. Now, does it look the best? Absolutely not. Will it function? Yes. Can we access all of it? Probably not. But we'll see. We'll see how much of this they can get done before they get stuck, and go from there. All right, that required far too much scaffolding for my liking, but we made it up eventually. At this point, I think I would like to clean up a bunch of that scaffolding so that I don't have to look at it anymore. And that should be okay. I mean, it might be worth having this on top of the dam anyway, but, you know, it's going away. I just don't want to see it. And honestly, we probably don't need any of this either. Let's get rid of that. Thank you to the kind soul who told me that holding shift cancels the confirmation dialogue when you're demolishing things. That is absolutely very handy for me. Because I absolutely hated that. This is still flooding, but that's okay. We're still in the process of figuring that out. At the very least, we have treated planks being made over here. And since we've got a little bit more room now, I think it is also going to be worth throwing in 2 more plank workshops, because we currently are very limited by the amount of planks we have. So I'll get both of those in. I'm hoping we still have enough power over here. We definitely should. We're generating 1152. We're not using all that much. Most of these buildings do turn off once all our storages are full as well, so I'm not super concerned about it. One thing we definitely will need, though, is some storage for those treated planks. Now, do they go in a building? or in a stockpile? That is my question. I believe they go in a stockpile. Yes, they do. So we need another stockpile and we need somewhere to put it. And honestly, just up here is probably reasonable enough. That can be our treated planks, and we should be able to slowly but surely build up a stockpile of those. We'll go ahead and make sure all of our buildings are still automated so that no one is working if they don't need to be, and that should be okay. One thing I am noticing somewhat consistently is we aren't having enough beavers to do all of the jobs. So I think it is worth putting in one more building for housing, getting that set up so that we can have a little bit more of a workforce. But so far we're doing okay. All right, now that we have treated planks, we can do what we were originally going to do and throw down a temporary water pump there. I'll just go ahead and connect that to the path. And once that's built, we can demolish all three of these, get some more dynamite in here, and continue terraforming this river just a little bit. All right, this is now in. We can automate products on that. That should be absolutely okay. And with that done, we should, in theory, be able to demolish all three of these, as well as any of the supports in here, because I would like to make this all the same depth everywhere that I possibly can. That is going to require me building some ladders, but I'm okay with that. So we will get our landscaping tool, and we want to go down 2 over here, I believe. That should be good. We do need access to this though, so I'm thinking we could potentially do that a little bit sneaky by throwing a ladder down right there, getting this to come around and wrap onto that ladder, and then we can get a path going down here as well. All of this should be accessible by that path as well, so I think I will immediately go ahead and throw down the dynamite there so that we can build all that dynamite and blow this all up in one foul swoop. Alright, that dynamite is now set and ready to blow. No beavers are currently down here, so we'll go ahead and detonate all of those, get a nice chain reaction throughout the whole thing, and this is now at the level I want it, and we can go ahead and move this building over. It is a 3x3, I believe, with like 1 out the back, so potentially right in here is exactly where I should put that. Let's go for something like so. And just to double check that that is accurate, I can go ahead and throw down the water pumping station right about there. That ladder is going to give us a nice clean access to build all of this, and that should be fantastic. All right, that is now done. Go ahead and automate that. We can now remove this one, and we can always add another one of these if we need it. Whether or not we do, I don't quite know. But that brings us on to our next problem over here, and I think I would actually like to leave this for just a second and focus more on our flooding issue, because you can see this is all flooding quite a lot. We're actually not able to get extract at the moment because this is all flooded, so I think we definitely have to address that next. And to do so, I think I just want to replace these with floodgates. Simple as that. So let's go ahead and do that. I would probably like this to be 2 deep before I go ahead and do that, just so that I can throw in a double floodgate and really have control of how much water is in here. So with that in mind, let's grab ourselves the singular dynamite and dynamite this entire section here out. That's going to lose us access to down here and to over here, but we don't actually need that access at the moment, so that should be okay. That is now all in place. We'll go ahead and detonate that. This ladder is now not doing anything, and we can go ahead and plan our floodgates. And I think I would just like to throw in 2 right there, and then I'm going to throw a levee on the end. That should work out absolutely beautifully. We should have access to all of that via those stairs that don't actually lead anywhere, but they should be able to build this from that corner, that from there. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. Let's let them build that, and then we'll go ahead and demolish our original dam. All right, that is in. This can now all be demolished, and we'll use the actual tool itself. Now this again is going to get rid of that path for a second here, but that is okay. The other good news is we actually have access to all of these. which is exactly what I want. We should be able to build here from that corner. Yeah, I think we have access to all of this without building any staircases. So I would like 3 tall dynamite on that level, 2 tall dynamite on that level, just to make this all the same depth, and that should be good. That is all in. We'll go ahead and detonate all of that, clearing that up very, very nicely. And now, with that floodgate in, we should be able to control the level of the water in here a lot more accurately, which I think is going to be fantastic. All right, now we need to deal with this situation, but we are currently in a drought, so whether doing that now is a good idea or not, I'm not 100% sure. It's probably fine. So let's at least plan it out. I mean, we can do this without destroying this dam, so that's good news. Let's grab landscaping again, and I want a singular level of dynamite going through here. This is where my new floodgate's going to be. I'll just throw a levee in that corner there, and that should be good to go. So we'll get that done. And go ahead and demolish this dam. Now, that is going to lose us our pathway for a second, but I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and do just that. So this is going to be demolished. And what are we working with in here? This is all 1 deep currently. I would love to make this 4 deep in here, but I guess that's not the biggest deal. We could just make this section 4 deep. Or we could leave it as is. No, I definitely want to make this 4 deep. I'll be honest. I mean, this doesn't matter. That can stay as it is. But I would like to get rid of that. Get rid of the water wheel for the moment. And get rid of those platforms. Everything in here I would like to be 4 deep. That's the plan, at the very least. So we'll grab landscaping. We will go down by 3 on that level, down by 2 right there. And we need a way to access this. And the way that I'm going to do that is probably just with another ladder situation. So if we grab ourselves the ladder, we can throw this down, I guess at the bottom. Well, we're going to need 2 if we do it like that. Okay, let's just do a temporary ladder in here then. Grab that, grab the path, make sure these are all pathed up. We'll grab our double platform, throw it there. Grab a singular platform. No, let's just grab a triple platform, throw it there. Throw a ladder on that, and then in theory, we should have access to all of this. And just temporarily, I am going to throw in a path over here as well, just so that our beavers can get across without having to worry too much. That is all of our dynamite in. Once again, we will go ahead and blow all of this up, just like so. That should all now be at the right depth. We can grab our demolish tool, get rid of that. We no longer need it. And we need to throw in a platform over here for our water wheel, but that's fine. I will also go ahead and throw in 2 high platforms here so that we can clean this path up a little bit. Once that's built, we can demolish this one. That should be good. And then I believe we need a triple platform in here for our water wheel. That should go something like that. I don't know if we'll have access to all of this. We may have to rebuild that ladder and let them down here, but that should be okay. And then we'll grab our power back, grab our water wheel, and that can sit right about there. Perfect. Our water wheel is back in. It won't be generating power for the moment because we currently have no water flow, but that is okay. We'll go ahead and demolish this section here. Get rid of that path on top of there, and that should be all nice and cleaned up. The only thing left to do is to go ahead and reconnect our power to our research buildings. And how much do we care about these research buildings being off the ground? I mean, we have 5.8k. I think I will just go ahead and remove these so that I can make everything nice and even. So let me get this sorted and we'll come back in a little bit. And while they are working on that, let's go ahead and see if we can now fix this problem with this all being way too high and flooding back here. And I'm hoping that we can do that by just simply lowering the water height in here to like 1.2, 1.2 on that side as well. That should drain a bunch of water out and hopefully fix this mess back here. And it looks like it has, maybe. That might still be too high. I'm worried that by creating this in here, we've bottlenecked this water too much and it just can't flow out fast enough. That is potentially the case. But in terms of fixing that without losing a ton of power, I don't know. We could add another one in here, like add a sluice gate or a floodgate or something, just so that we have another path for the water to exit out of. I'm just concerned that that is going to make this far less efficient. But that is potentially what we're going to have to do, because this is all now nice and low, and this is still very, very high, because this is just flowing too fast. And yeah, I think that is actually the case, which means a lot of this work was unnecessary, but at the very least we have a ton more water storage in here, so that will always help us out in the long run. Alright, our observatories are back up and running, and you may notice that I moved them from underneath our gravity battery, which can now store 46,000 horsepower per hour, I imagine, is what that number is. I don't know what that last H stands for, but if you do, please let me know down in the comments. Alright, now it's time to hopefully fix this flooding problem once and for all. Let's just hide water for a second here, and I think if we just blow this up, we can let water run through here and it will be okay. That's my general understanding. I think I will blow it too deep, and we can also go ahead and blow this out so that that is too deep all the way through, and hopefully that prevents our flooding issue. It may slow down the efficiency of these water wheels, but I think I'm okay with that. Alright, they are now in. We'll go ahead and detonate all of those and let the game run at 3 times speed for a second. Turn the water back on, and yeah, it looks like that was definitely the problem. You can see this has dropped significantly, and it looks like, yeah, we're doing okay. This was at like 1120-ish, like 1200, 1100. We've lost a little bit of horsepower. We're only just barely above what we need, but that is okay. We can always add a third power wheel in here, and I think I may even just go ahead and do that right now. So grab a couple more levies, 3 back like so, grab ourselves some platforms, throw them in like so, and then grab our water wheel on top. I have a feeling they'll be able to reach all of that, but I'm not 100% sure, so I will keep an eye on them as they do so. And yeah, that seemed to work. We're now up to 1600 horsepower, which is more than enough for what we need right now, and we have a nice deep reservoir in here with even more water storage. Fantastic. All right, now I didn't plan on doing any of that this episode, but I really wanted to deal with that flooding situation that we had. The main goal of this episode was actually way over here. I want to figure out a Badwater diversion system that we can use over here, rather than letting this entire lake, which is a massive volume of water, change into bad tide and back again. So let's plan this out before we get any paths or anything over here. I think that blowing a path through this is the way to go. And I think I can't do that because of all the trees, which is very annoying. So we'll mark these resources here for deconstruction. I will blow a path through there, and then we will simply grab ourselves some levees and figure out where this wants to be. So I think that makes the most sense if we do something like that and follow that along, bring that up to there, and make sure we are at the right height. Yeah, we are. Perfect. And then we just need some sluices in here. So potentially making this square is a little bit more efficient. Well, not more efficient per se, but, you know, more visually appealing, which is what I'm going for here. So something like so, and then we can grab our levees back, throw one there, Since we're only making that other one 3 wide, I think we can get away with making this 3 wide. Do something like that, and then we simply go into our landscaping, throw a couple of sluices down, and that should work out, I believe. Then we'll throw some sluices down in here as well once we've blown this out, and go from there. So we need to figure out a way to get over here, which is going to be dreadfully painful due to the fact that all these trees are in the way. Yeah, that is gonna suck a little bit. All right, at the very least, we can go up here and use this ladder to get across. But from there, it really is a slog through all these trees, unless we go this way, which probably makes a little bit more sense. Can we path on top of sluices? The answer is yes. Fantastic. I will figure out a path through all this mess, and we'll come back once I've done so. And actually, rather than going through the trees, why don't we just jump in the water? We are beavers, after all. So something like that, and then we can just walk all the way along here. Yeah, that is definitely the plan. Alright, honestly, we don't have to build too much to get that done, so that is what we are going to start with. We also have immediate access to this area up here, and I think because I may come back here in the future to do some more work, I am going to demolish all of those trees and plan to get a zipway in here, but we have to make our way over here first, so that is going to be our main priority. Right, with this cleared out, let's go ahead and see whether or not we can actually get a zipline all the way over here. Zipline station is going to cost us 700 science. It's somewhat expensive to build, but honestly not too bad. And I think I would like that to live right about there. Then we connect a path to that. That should be okay. And now we need to connect this up. Now, how far can this go? Is it going to tell me? Probably not. But we are going to need a zip line pylon, and it looks like it shows you when it can connect, which is about there. Oh, that's a bit rough. I really wish this went a little bit further because getting over there is kind of a pain. I guess we could route it this way where we already have some access. That probably makes the most sense. But in terms of building that, we need to find somewhere where we can do so. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if it's in the water, right? I guess that doesn't matter at all. So let's see. How close can we get that? First one there, that's going to cost us 500 science. I honestly don't know if this zipline is worth actually building. Does this tell me how far it can connect? Does that land actually make a difference here so that I can't build this over here? That's very frustrating if that is the case. I guess we're going to have to build one there as well then. And then we can connect it all the way down to there, which we should be able to build. Connect that to as far as we can get it. How far can we go? About there. Perfect. Down to, well, we can't build over there, so let's not do it there. Let's go to there. Bring it down the mountain a little bit, just like so. Maybe on top of our dam. Makes some sense. And then have it land maybe down here at a station. So let's get our zipline station. And where do we want this to connect to? That is the question. I guess there kind of makes sense. It's somewhat central, although having it closer to our storage is probably a better idea. So let's throw it in there, I guess. I really didn't leave myself a ton of room, but that should be good. And then we can delete that. Go here, add connection, connect to there, connect to there, connect to there, there, and can I go straight to that? No, that is too far. There, there, and finally to our thing there. That is a long path, and I guess I should probably go ahead and make sure that these are all high priority. Otherwise, they will finish building our construction project down there before they get the pylons in, and we won't get to see them use it. So let's go ahead and make all this high priority and see how long it takes them to build that. Turns out our battery is not actually big enough to sustain our observatories and our gristmill. I really thought it would be, but I guess not. So potentially building another one in here is worthwhile. We only have 0.8 days of our flood yet left, so I'm not going to worry about that now. We're going to continue on with this project for the moment. And with that, it's complete. Let's go ahead and follow a beaver on their journey up here to deliver resources. And apparently closing that window stops tracking them, so let's see as they fly. Oh, okay, I can't unhighlight them as I do this, so we're just going to see a neon green beaver flying along our zipways. This should make this a little bit quicker. Like I said, we'll probably do some more work down here at some point later on in the game, so this isn't all for waste. We probably could have built that in the time that we managed to build the zipway station, but I'm okay with it. And with the final levy now in, this is pretty much complete. We'll get rid of our scaffolding there, and I'll get rid of, well, no, we'll keep the path on top just because we can. You never know when we might need it again. And the only thing left to do is go ahead and blow this up. So let's go ahead and do that. That should create a nice path for our Badwater to flow down here. And that's how it works. So these will open once the contamination is above 5%. These will shut at that point and then reopen once it is below 5%. Absolutely fantastic. Now, instead of having to deal with this mass of bad water, we just have to deal with this. I'm just hoping that 3 sluice gates is enough to deal with all of this flow. That is my main concern. We're currently in a drought. There's 8 days left on it. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. In terms of resources, we're doing okay, but I think it is time that we upgrade our plank storage. So that is getting removed, which was probably not the best idea during a flood, but it'll be okay. And then we're going to replace it with an underground pile. Now, the reason that was a bad idea is because this requires 40 planks to build, but I don't believe they can take them right off the floor. So in order to deal with that, I'm going to place a temporary small pile, which just takes 2 logs. Say you are going to store planks, you are going to store planks, you are the highest priority. So they should build this, gather up all of these planks that are just laying on the floor, and then they can go ahead and start constructing this. They had, okay, maybe that wasn't necessary even a little bit. Okay, maybe it was, maybe it helped, maybe it didn't, I don't know. Either way, that is now finished. That is now getting planks, and we should have a ton more plank storage in there. Do we want to do the same thing with gears? Yeah, I don't see why not. So let's get rid of that, unlock the large warehouse for 250 science, throw that down right about there, and say you are going to be filled with gears. Now, thankfully, this doesn't take gears to produce, so this should be pretty straightforward and easy to do, and that will be fantastic. I mean, honestly, at this point, let's do the metal as well. We may as well. We'll get that in there, say you are storing metal, and that would be fantastic. And while we're at it, we may as well just upgrade all of them. Because why not, right? That makes sense to me. We'll throw that there, and we will say you, if the game would stop lagging for a second, can store treated planks. Amazing. We could also do the scrap metal, and you know what? Let's do it. How are we doing for scrap metal over here, actually? Okay, first of all, they have nothing left to harvest in range because this all has a little bit weird terrain, so we should absolutely go ahead and fix that. We need to bring a ladder down here, and that should allow them to get down there and harvest a whole bunch more metal. And then we can go ahead and demolish that and replace it with a underground storage instead, storing our scrap metal. So we'll let them build all of that, and then we will come back. All right, the drought is over. I just want to pause the game quickly. I don't know if you guys noticed in that time lapse, but none of this got done. That is mostly due to the fact that we didn't have any plank production online while we were doing that because, you know, we had the drought. But I want to run all the way back up here and just double check that our sluice gates are enough to get this water flowing. The drought is now over, so these should start producing water any second now. We'll run it at 3 times speed, well, 30 times speed for just a second, and make sure that this doesn't fill up entirely and start overflowing this way. I mean, if it does, it's not the end of the world, but, you know, I would rather it didn't. We currently have, what's that, like 1.5 CMS of water flow over here, which is okay. It's definitely filling up, and there goes the overflow. The question is, will it stabilize? And if this is a bad tide, will we just have far too much water going through here? Do we need to open these up even more in order to make that actually work? Because these are currently closed and water is still flowing out that way. I'm going to leave it run for a little bit as everything sort of equalizes, and I guess we will see. But if that is the case, we'll just have to add more sluices, make this a little bit wider, and I think it'll be okay. And yeah, that is not equalizing at all. So I'm wondering if 4 is enough, because that's really realistically all I can fit in here is another 1 here maybe, unless I make this entire thing bigger, which I don't really want to do, but I will if I have to. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. All right, let's turn off water for a second so I can see what we're actually dealing with. To start with, I think I will go ahead and just throw down 3 more sluices over here, just like so. These can be the exact same, close above contamination level of 5%, and that'll be okay. And then, in terms of getting this to work, what is the best strategy? I mean, does the sluice restrict flow? That is my question. Because if it doesn't, well, I guess even if it does, it doesn't really matter. What I think I am thinking is if we go ahead and demolish... Oh, I need to get rid of the trees first. Of course I do. All right, let's run paths over here. Let's go ahead and mark resources for deconstruction. Mark all of that for deconstruction, and we'll come back from there. All right, now with that done, I'm thinking we go into our landscaping and we just demolish all of that. Actually, these ones can stay. No, I'll get rid of them. That'll be fine. We'll deconstruct that, and then we can throw sluice gates along here rather than here. And I'm hoping the way that water physics works, that will work. But I'm not 100% sure, so I guess we'll find out in a second. Okay, good news and bad news. Actually, no good news, just bad news. 6 sluice gates in here still doesn't allow this to not overflow, which is slightly concerning if I'm being completely honest. I don't really know what to do with that. I think I'm going to continue on with my plan for now. Yeah, that we may have to levy this entire thing up a level just to get to this to work. Maybe bad tides don't put out as much water. I don't know. If you guys have any suggestions for this mess that I've made up here, I would love to hear them in the comments. But before I hear your comments, I am going to detonate this and just see what happens. All right, so that is cleared out. That is all now draining, which is what I expected. We'll now go ahead and demolish these sluice gates and replace them with more sluice gates over here. If the game will let me. Please unlag. Please don't crash. Okay, something weird happened. Oh, it's because the trees are there. Okay, so we can get rid of those two. I thought the game was trying to crash on me, but it wasn't. It was something else entirely. So that is now in, and we can build those and see whether or not this works, or if we need to build levees on top of all of this to make this function and not constantly overflow. I mean, I guess we could have these just open and this open, and then, you know, this would open when we had clear water. It looks like this is maintaining the level over here just fine. But I would like to have all of my clean water going down this stream, if at all possible. Alright, these sluice gates are now turned off, and it looks like 6 might be enough. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted to see. Please don't flood. Please don't flood. And it's flooding. Well, damn. How many do I need in here to get this to run? Do I need 8? How many is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 over there. So if we switch these around, say you close when it's clean and you close when it's... Yeah, I don't know. We'll just switch them around, right? That way, these are now closed, these are open, and we'll see if 7 still floods it. If not, which it doesn't look like it will, we can maybe just add another 2 sluice gates in here and call it a day. I hope. But yeah, that doesn't look like it's flooding at all. But that also may be because, you know, there's no water on the other side of this. I don't know the answer to that question, but we're going to figure it out by adding another 2 sluice gates and hoping that that solves all of my problems. For now, I will switch these back to the way they are intended. Close below contamination. No. Close above is what I need here. Close above there, and that should work. That is now no longer flowing, and everything is flowing out this way, exactly as we intended. I mean, worst case scenario, we have to throw floodgates in here and do this manually, but I'd really rather not. Alright, now the moment of truth. Does this still flood? I really hope it doesn't. I really hope. It looks like we're okay with 8. I think we're stable. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to call that a win. That is far more sluice gates than I thought I would need, but that is our new diversion system in place and up and running, which is exactly what we want to see. It looks like our bakery has stopped baking. That is slightly concerning. We do have flour. Are you making bread still? You should be. I really hope that you are. I think you are. I think it's just because we ran out of power during the last thing, and that turned our battery out of action. We may just require more power down here to charge this battery a little bit faster, because currently we were 1 day away from a flood and this is nowhere close to being done. The only problem is we don't really have a ton of room unless we built it in like there, which I guess would work. The only problem is we can't block off that side because of this mess. I don't like that battery setup anymore. That is very frustrating. But that is a problem for another episode. Today, we set up a major diversion system over here. We also did a bunch of work down here that I was not planning on doing at all. We cleared out this entire river so it's 4 deep, so we should never run out of water at this point, I hope. And we also fixed most of our flooding problems, which is absolutely fantastic. If you guys are enjoying the series, make sure to go ahead and leave a like and a comment for the sake of engagement. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Consider becoming a Golden Panda member if you would like your name in the game, or a regular member if you would just like early access to all of the videos. But until next time, happy building, happy damming. Bye, guys.